spanking new copy of Tequil the Brave. This tale comes from the desolate, distant past. In those days, the mountain's teeth were still bared like blades against man and beast, thirsting for the souls of the feeble-minded, human and non-human alike. People knew that the god of the mountain loved them not and was to be given a wide berth. Yet they forced to seek shelter in caverns from the storm screaming through the wilds, all to pass one long night after the next. But these caverns, like the mountains, extracted payment from these vagrants. Countless were the tribes who lost kin to the wastes, through which they stumbled blind. Valiant Tequil and his kind-hearted brother Reminiscent were born to one such tribe. At the hour of their birth, a long, troubling night reigned inside and outside the caves, and though the campfires around which the tribe's people sat flickered, none were comforted by their light. The people thought, "This fire shall soon go out, and once it does, we too shall be finished. How long will this night last? I'm cold, and hungry too." "Let's hurry things up then. Quickly, let me walk into the night. Better that than this torment." "Oh, you poor children. You poor, poor children." Yet Tequil and Reminiscent did not announce themselves with sorrowful cries as other children did. Instead, Tequil stared into the cavern depths. The minions of the cavern did their best to frighten him, but his gaze swept over them, keen as sharp stone spur. "He has seen us, our sharp claws and long teeth, but he is not afraid." The wicked creatures whispered amongst themselves anxiously, and involuntarily retracted said appendages. Reminiscent, for his part, waved his hands and laughed, and his laughter was like pebbles tumbling into a stream, drawing the eyes of all the distressed tribespeople to his face. Only then did they notice that through the flame wavered, it never ceased to burn. And with another wave of his hands, Reminiscent patted the firewood next to him. "Feed the flame! Feed the flame!" The elderly chief, thus reminded the newborn boy, shouted his words aloud, repelling the fear that had been about to swallow the tribe whole. People stood, and fueled by the fire, they drew their obsidian blades, casting their eyes into the cavern depths just as Tequil had. The beasts of the cavern were filled with rage and hate, but they knew that these people would not loosen their grip on their weapons, nor would their eyes be shut. Terror had already fled, and so the death was forced to retreat. Interesting, death is also mentioned here. Only when the sun rose again did the brothers close their eyes, falling asleep in their mother's bosom. Thus did the tribe's people depart the cave, having lived another day. These people who have rejected fear will live countless days more. Yet the defeat of her evil underlings caught the eye of their master, Coatlicue. For this lord of demons, who claimed to be the mother of the underworld and mistress of 10,000 times 10,000 caves, whose fangs were rocky stalactites, whose tongue was every blast of wet, frigid wind, and who upon awakening could only be satiated by devouring 10,000 living souls, Tequil and Reminiscent were the first humans to slip her grasp. Shamefaced, this Earth Mother waved her hand, lashing the evil beast cowering to the side with rock. "Go, go! Redeem your humiliating failure! Capture those dim-witted mortals and fill my stomach!" But having seen their fears vanquished, the people remembered well the methods of scattering those terrors time after time. They settled at the foot of the mountains, sharpened wooden stakes, lit fires, and gave the sharpest blades to their best warriors, with which they would stand guard beneath the stakes. Their bright eyes pierced the wilderness beyond the firelight, and did not shift their gaze away for a moment. By blade and fire did Coatlicue's minions taste defeat time after time, until they could do nothing but huddle in the dark, daring not to draw near the flame. The fires in their hearts of people ignited, and they began to speak victory, of light, and of the end of the Viper. They believed in Tequil and Reminiscent. These two brothers could surely keep the heat and light alive. Tequil and Reminiscent thought the same, and so they sharpened their spears and blades, preparing to drive the demon lord of that evil serpent to her doom. But the Earth Mother, who hated this tribe, did not relent. She took sludge from the deepest parts of the cave and pinched it into a snake. Then she plucked out her eye, setting it onto the serpent's eye socket. "It was that child who caused you to witness the fire, and so, let me go and swallow his eyes. One evening, when the sun had just set, night's veil was slowly covering the sky, and the stars had yet to begin granting their light. The serpent bit and slew a rabbit beyond the tribe's bounds, and burrowed into its skin, lying flat on the ground. Reminiscent, returning from gathering herbs, came upon this rabbit, and seeing its wound, the kind child put his torch down without hesitation, and reaching for his herbs, he chewed on them, preparing to apply them to the rabbit. But the snake, speaking for the Earth Mother, leaped from the wound, hissing laughter. Ignorant, foolish human, sacrificing yourself for a lowly rabbit. Before Reminiscent could retrieve his torch, the Earth's Mother Serpent latched its fangs first onto its neck, then burrowing into its body, captured its heart and soul both. The defenseless sentries were the next to be murdered by the Earth Mother, for they greeted Reminiscent just as they always did when he returned from gathering herbs, only to be pierced through the heart by the serpent, dying on the spot. The entire tribe's fires were put out, and amidst the shrouds of darkness, death and terror were resurgent. The Earth Mother spat the snake out, and through poisoned fangs she cried out, "Behold! Behold, you arrogant fools, and kneel as you should in dust." But the sound of a rock being struck cut her off, for Tequil, who had been sharpening his obsidian blade, used it to create sparks that set his tent alight. He raised his blade and charged forward, letting fly his blade at the Earth Mother's messenger. The blazing edge cleaved the poisoned serpent's molded from soil with ease. But as Tequil was about to follow through, he saw his brother's eyes, and the blood staining his brother's hands. That instant was all the time the wounded viper needed to escape. Yet nigh fully charred it was still, and the Earth Mother's eye reduced almost to ashes. This tribe was destroyed, and never again was there a chance it would dare defy her. Thus did the Earth Mother comfort herself as she retreated into the darkness. How Tequil wished to call out to Reminiscent's name, but the burning dust caught in his throat, and so he could only watch as his brother vanished into the night. When the night at last passed, Tequil, who stood amidst the ruins, knew that the surviving tribespeople could no longer stay. Burying his confusion and pain deep in his heart, he led them on a new journey. They crossed mountains and canyons, dodging fearsome beasts and poisonous insects. Tequil did not close his eyes for so long as they journeyed, nor did he dare to loosen his grip on blade or torch. Finally, by a silent volcano, they found a tribe willing to take them in. Only after he saw the last of his tribe peacefully fall into slumber under the old shaman's care did he relax and collapse onto the earth. When he awoke, he found himself in a blazing cave. The lava that surrounded him undulated with an erratic pulse, as if the very mountain was slowly breathing. When he stood up, the lava boiled and bubbled, and a rumbling came from all directions. "Do not search for your brother. His eyes have been devoured by a cunning serpent." "But I must save him and pursue that venomous snake also." His words echoed through the cave, but the goddess of mountains and fire were silent. Tequil thus prayed unto her, "Let my brother's name live on. I'm willing to sacrifice my heart and blood in return." The goddess answered him in the echoing cave. Thus said she, "Your prayer have I heard, but your brother is no longer your king. His name has sunken into the deepest of depths." Tequil raised his head and lifted up his wish to the goddess. "Turn my blood into fire, so my heart may illuminate the depths. I will bring my brother back before my blood runs dry. Turn my blood into fire until my soul may sear and slay that serpent. I will take its head before my blood runs dry." When Tequil awoke again, the old shaman of the tribe gave him a brand new sword, food, and water. Finally, the shaman clasped his shoulders and blessed him. "May your fire dry the venomous snake's venom." Thus did Tequil embark on another journey. His strength was endless, his body tireless, and his blood burned like lava. He crossed grassy fields and snowy peaks, deep valleys and high mountains. and the goddess of mountains and fire showed him the way with falling rocks and the cracks and cliffs. Thus did Tequil stride forward without hesitation. When he met his brother again, the Earth Mother mocked him once more using Remique's body and voice. But when her claws pierced Tequil's chest, he moved not. Instead, her bones were melted by his burning blood. Tequil stared at the vicious demon lord down and said in a loud voice, "My brother is gentle of heart. He would surely have made this land a better place. Yet you have affronted him with your poison, smothered his virtue, slaughtered those who have faith in his virtue. Die, you despicable, venomous insect! Die here!" As he roared, Tequil's blood stained his obsidian blade, turning it red hot in an instant. The Earth Mother watched in terror as her shell, bones, and soul were sundered. She wished to scream, to buy but a moment in which she could unleash her claws and tear Tequil to ribbons. But she made no sound. For in the fire's light, the goddess of mountains and fire opened one eye, causing a silent soul to whom his body had once belonged to awake and grasp the snake by the neck. The goddess cried out, "You vile snake, you wicked shade, be driven out by this light, as you should." The blazing flames swept over every encounter in that gloomy, frigid cavern, and every last poisonous insect within was slain, burned to ash alongside every plot and scheme, so heinous and vile. As the last drop of his blood was about to burn away, the roof of the hole above Tequil's head trembled. A fissure opened and a gem fell down and stopped up his wound. The falling rock, too, formed a body for the soul that had been bitten by the serpent. The goddess of mountains and fire spoke out once more, and her voice echoed across the walls. "I have seen your heart and blood, and I shall give of my own. Go back now. Return to your tribe with your brother. Yet, this heart and blood shall not be left for you, but rather for justice and fairness, for the good and the brave." One night, the old shaman who had waited day after day beyond the tribe's bounds stood to welcome the returning Tequil and his brother Remique. They both took the offered water and food and said, "To the venomous snake is slain, and we are victorious. But our hearts and blood do not remain for us, but rather for justice and fairness, for the good and the brave. Light the fire. Together we shall stand and ensure that the flame is never extinguished."